Thanks, Sahel. Hello, everyone. Did you know that 1/3 of software systems globally are legacy systems? Yet, 3/4 of IT budget are spent on running and maintaining software. These numbers just show that although legacy systems are not the majority, they are costly. Not only in terms of money, but also in terms of opportunities, in the way that they're holding back organizations from being innovative. Think of your innovations and plans in your organizations that cannot be currently implemented because of your legacy system. If only we can just migrate our legacy system, even if it's just enough to unlock our exciting innovations. Hi, my name is Dianing. I'm a software engineer at Shopify. Talking about being innovative, at Shopify, being innovative means finding unexpected ways to make commerce better for everyone. We are humbled to serve millions of merchants to sell their products online, in physical stores, and on mobile devices through our very own Shop app. Most organizations have legacy systems, and today I'm going to share our learnings in sunsetting one of ours, especially the one that we use to decide whether or not a merchant should be eligible to sell on the Shop app. Let's look at the merchant journey up until they sell their products on the Shop app. First, they sign up with Shopify, quickly setting up their online store, and then they can then extend their reach through other channels, like through physical stores or on mobile devices through the Shop app. All merchants that are eligible are automatically integrated into the Shop app, but not all are eligible. For example, a new merchant who are still finalizing their product lines and hiding their online store behind a password, they are not typically added to the Shop app. Another example, if the merchant hasn't finished setting up their Shop Pay, then they are not eligible for the Shop app either, because Shop app only works really well with Shop Pay. There are other criteria, but we're not going to talk in details about them today. But let's see the technology that powers this Shop merchant eligibility system. We get our data from MySQL databases in various services in Shopify. They went through our legacy platform into our API server that will only serve eligible merchants to the client. The client runs on iOS and Android devices, as well as on web browsers. The legacy that we sunset was a data pipeline in our legacy platform, and it did two things. One, it made new merchants eligible once they met all of the eligibility criteria. And two, it runs continuously through millions of merchants to hide previously eligible merchants once they stop meeting any of the eligibility criteria. The legacy data pipeline was replaced by new pipelines in a new platform called Shopify Data Platform. This new platform allows more innovations to be built faster. It provides the best available tools and technologies. So, how did we sunset our legacy? At first, we thought about, let's keep the legacy data pipeline running in operation while we build the new system little by little, and once the new system reached the feature parity with the old one, we switch over to the new system and replace the old system all in one go. However, would this replace and rip out strategy be the best strategy for this use case? To answer this question, let's explore what we knew and did not know about our legacy system. We're going to use Rumsfeld matrix for this. There are 4 quadrants on it. The first quadrant is the known quadrant. It contains our knowledge. We knew that the legacy system was large and complex. It was one single, majestic, monolithic data pipeline that processed all of the eligibility criteria for all of our merchants. The second quadrant is the known-unknown quadrant. It contains our gaps. The team that built the legacy pipeline was different from the team migrating it. So there's a lot of missing context there. On top of that, the team migrating the pipeline did not have the skills yet back then to build the the new pipelines in the new system. Big skills gap. The third quadrant is the unknown quadrant. It contains risks. We suspected that there would be some potential disruptions, but we didn't know how big, how small, when it's going to happen, or where it would come from. And the last quadrant is the unknown known quadrant. It contains subconscious knowledge, and we could only feel it in hindsight, either during or after the migration. Now, based on this, we decided that doing the replace and rip out strategy was just too risky for us. We needed another strategy. What would it be? This is what we did. We dismantled the old system piece by piece while building the new system. Before the migration, all of the eligibility criteria were processed in the legacy platform. Early into the migration, most of them were processed in the legacy platform, but some of them have started being processed in the new platform. And further down into the migration, more and more eligibility criteria were processed in the new platform until at the end, all of them are there with nothing in the old platform. This strategy is called the strangler fig. It's a strategy that was made famous by Martin Fowler. It's a metaphor to describe a way to rewrite an important system, which is to gradually create new system around the edges of the old, letting it grow little by little until the old system is strangled. Let's get back to the Ramsford matrix. During and after the migration, we found more things to add at the bottom quadrant. In the unknown quadrant, we found out that there was an important feature used by downstream team, and it's great that we did the strangler fig strategy because we could migrate this feature without any major disruptions. And then in the unknown quadrant, we knew that there was a circuit breaker in our legacy platform. This circuit breaker will detect anomaly, and it will stop the pipeline before it creates any more problems down the line. And it wasn't triggered much before, but during sunsetting the legacy, it was triggered a lot of time, and that has saved us so many times. Right, so it's nice to know all of this, but there's an implicit thing behind all of this. What is it? Our legacy had high maintenance. Think of your legacy system. Does it have high maintenance? How high is it? Can you tell me in numbers? If your legacy doesn't have a high maintenance, I would say don't sunset it. And now, before you throw rotten tomatoes at the stage, I want to say that I am not suggesting you to not sunset your legacy at all. What I'm saying is that if your legacy has a high maintenance, quantify the maintenance cost. Use any available metrics out there that works for your organizations. You can use some of the DORA metrics, change failure rate, or time to restore service. Or you can check how much downtime you had last year, or how long does it take to onboard new engineers into your legacy system. Or maybe the most tangible metric, how much money you spend running and maintaining your legacy system. And once you quantify the maintenance cost, hopefully it will be easier to get a buy-in from your stakeholders and peers to sunset your legacy. Let's get back to the shop merchant eligibility system. We talked about how we sunset our system. And now let's talk about the neighboring system, especially the API server. Now, if you look at this diagram, the API server is not part of the legacy platform. Why did we even have to care about it? And let's use the principle of least work. What would be the least work we could do with API server? The first thought would be nothing. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? Well, the thing is, when we migrated our legacy data pipeline, we re-architected it. So we had this one monolithic data pipeline processing all of the eligibility criteria. But in the new platform, we re-architected it and broke down those big monolithic data pipeline into many, many smaller pipelines, and each of them send events into the API server. So the API server had to be changed. Oh, did it have to be changed? Let's think of the principle of least work again. What if we step back a little bit? What if we didn't re-architect the data pipeline? Just keep it as one monolithic pipeline so that we don't need to change the API server. Well, yes, we could do that. But the thing is, that was not the least work for us. And let's see why. We're going to use risk storming. And in risk storming, we start with ideating all of the things that could go wrong and map them onto this graph with two axes. The y-axis is for the impact. The higher it goes, the higher the impact. And the x-axis is for the likeliness for it to occur. The more it goes to the right, the more likely for the risk to occur. And we found out that without re-architecting our legacy data pipeline and therefore not touching API server, we're going to have this risk. I promise you there were more, but for this talk, these are the risks. We're going to have high coupling in our code base. We're going to have higher code complexity. And we were just going to create new breeding ground for new bugs. Yuck. And we're going to have so many merge conflicts during the migrations. And it's going to take longer to build planned features. And the cherry on top, we might have even bigger disruptions than that we have never known before. And if you look at the values of our organizations, especially two core values in Shopify, the first one is to thrive on change, and the second one is to build for long term. These risks just don't support them whatsoever. Now, there's a theme, again, behind all of this information on the screen. What is that? Planned innovations. Think of your legacy system again. Does it block any planned innovations in your organizations? Because if it doesn't, if your legacy doesn't block planned innovations, I would say don't sunset it. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't sunset your legacy. What I'm saying is that make sure you keep track of all of the innovations, planned innovations, that are currently being blocked by your legacy. What are planned innovations anyway? Planned innovations are features or experiments that have been identified and added into your backlog or roadmap. Or better yet, they could be features or experiments that have previously been attempted or prototyped, but they couldn't go to build phase or release phase because of your legacy system. And once you have the backlog of blocked innovations with the quantified maintenance cost, hopefully it will make it much easier for you to build a stronger case to sunset your legacy. We're going back to the shop merchant eligibility system again. We decided that it will go broke, so we're going to fix it. How did we fix it? Let's look into the API server. There are 3 components there, but I promise you there are more. But for this talk, there are 3. The first one, event consumer. It consumes all the events from the data pipeline. And then in the middle, there's big eligibility service, which has all of the business logic to decide whether a merchant should be eligible or not in the shop app. And then we've got the shop model that stores all of the information into the data storage. And what we did was we pulled out the logic to create the signal into signal factory class. And then we combine all of the similar attributes and behaviors of each signals into base signal class. And then we created signal implementation classes. Now, if we look at this diagram, this is much more complex than the previous one. So why not just have one big, majestic, monolithic eligibility service where we can just chuck everything in? Why is this necessary? Well, although this architecture looks much more complex, when we were migrating a signal, we only needed to focus on 2 places: the signal factory class and the signal implementation class. In the signal factory class, there's only 2 lines of code to add. If signal name is ABCD, then instantiate signal class ABCD. Very minimum merge conflicts. And then the signal implementation class, they are very independent from each other. For example, one signal class can say, is the merchant's online store hidden behind a password? Yes, no. Should they be eligible for shop app? Yes, no. Another signal class can say, has the merchant finished setting up their shop pay? Yes, no. Should they be eligible for shop up then? Yes, no. No merge conflicts between them whatsoever. This pattern is called factory method pattern. And this pattern significantly increased the cohesion in our code base and decreased coupling. It reduced merge conflicts, and it allowed parallel works by many, many, many engineers, migrating and sunsetting many, 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 many eligibility criteria. And it just significantly improved our delivery speed. Because one of the risks of migration, as Guillaume and Sami said earlier, in the middle, people might just get too stressed and burn out, and they just say, let's just cancel this migration. So we gotta make sure that we deliver quickly. More information can be found on this lovely book, Head First Design Patterns. There are other patterns as well there by Gang of Four. This book is by Eric Freeman and Liz Robson. Now we've talked about the software. Let's talk about the people involved in sunsetting and migration, the legacy. There were many teams. We were all distributed across many time zones, and we were all remote by default. Diana Montalian said that the principles and procedures people use and the framework or methods that structure our work will inherently design our system. That nothing in technology isn't socio-technical. So we gotta have a balanced view between the social side and the software side, because they go hand in hand and they influence each other so much. Now, sunsetting legacy is a highly, highly risky work. Even to get the buy-in, even to start the work is not easy. But hopefully, after quantifying your maintenance cost and having a backlog of blocked innovations, you can actually start the work to sunset the legacy. But then comes the next, even harder question. Maybe you've heard people ask, so you're going to spend this much time with this many engineers, and there will be no new features at the end of it? Well, the answer is yes, yes, yes. Big, bold, yes. Sunsetting and migrating legacy is a highly risky work. Adding new features, yeah, please don't. It's just gonna add more risk on top of it. But this is not intuitive, and you might now throw rotten tomatoes at me, but yes, this is not intuitive and borderline controversial. But when something is not intuitive, we gotta talk about it. We gotta talk about it so people don't get surprised. And we're going to use the principle of least astonishment. We don't want our stakeholders and peers to be surprised with our plans, our decisions, our designs, our timelines. Let's look at some tools that we use for this. Architectural decision records. They're lovely. And we even put a twist on it. Architectural decision records, or ADRs, are usually files or articles, and each of the file or article contains one architectural decision. We put a twist on it, and what we did was we had this humongous architectural diagram with everything in it. On the left-hand side, there's the old data architecture for all of the eligibility signals. And on the right-hand side, there's the new data architecture. Not just new data architecture that we implemented, we actually listed all of the possible solutions for each of the criteria. And we also annotated each of the possible solutions with the teams that we reached out to, who the contact person was, when did we talk with them, what kind of advice they gave to us, and what kind of agreement did we reach in any of the meetings. And we found this central hub of architectural decision records to be very useful for us who want to go very deep into the nitty-gritty details or just want to zoom out and look at the bigger picture of how the sunsetting and the migration going. The next tool, stakeholder map. Clarify your stakeholder and make sure you know what's important for them. For us, we've got data stakeholders. They want the legacy pipelines to be migrated to Shopify data platform. We've got engineering stakeholder. They want improved observability and lower maintenance cost. And we also have products and business and operations stakeholders. And they did not want any disruptions whatsoever during Black Friday and Cyber Monday. And we've got to be mindful, thinking about all of our stakeholders and all of the things that are important for them every time we communicate. The next tool, communication cadence. We communicate regularly, and we did it intentionally in different cadence, daily, weekly, monthly, as well as at the start and at the end of the projects. And each of the cadence have different level of details. For example, for daily, we communicated daily detailed updates, blockers, and whether we need to do any escalations. Weekly, we had traffic light system. Green means everything's okay. Amber means we're a bit off track, but we're handling it. Red means we need help now. We've also communicated TLDR every week. It's too long didn't read. It's usually 1 to 2 sentences of weekly updates. Also, high-level updates, which has just a little bit of details for any stakeholders who want to know just a little bit more. Every month, we held reviews with our stakeholders. And this is coming back to the principle of least astonishment. We don't want our stakeholders and peers to be surprised. And then at the start and at the end of the project, we did demos to a wider group in Shopify, regardless of their areas or their roles. And those are our learnings from sunsetting one of our legacy systems. We talk about the sunset strategy, either replace or rip out, or strangler fix. And we use Ramsor matrix to decide. We talk about the neighboring system. Do we have to fix it? Do we not fix it? We use risk storming to decide, and we use one of the object-oriented design pattern to cut down the complexity into much smaller manageable chunks. And then we talk about the socio-technical system with all the tools like ADR with a twist, stakeholder map, and communication cadence. And the key idea is, when sunsetting and migrating your legacy, remember to do only just enough. And doing only just enough means completely different things, depending on which side you're looking at it. On the software side, doing just enough means don't do more. Doing just enough for software side means less is more. Start with no work at all, and then assess the risk. And then start looking into the next level of least work. So it's what Victor said, start with the most simplest solution, and then you can scale the complexity. From the social side, very different. Doing just enough means don't do less. On the social side, more is more. Default to over-communicate, default to reach out to as many teams as you can, communicate the same message in different media, text, video, prototype, diagrams. Do more. Think of your legacy system. Are you going to sunset it? How? My name is Dianing, and I thank you very much for shopping with us today.